Welcome back. You're watching the Evening Edit. With me now is retired Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano. Colonel, great to have you back on. Sir, the president is going to speak with the leader of China, President Xi, at 9 p.m. tonight, he said. We talk a lot here about the vision going forward and unifying the country. The president also said he spoke with 20 world leaders, including the leaders of Russia, France, and Germany. What do you expect will happen on the phone call with the leader of China?
Well, there's two worlds. There's the world where of the leaders where they talk, where he talks to Xi and he talks to Kim and all these other guys, and then there's the where the rubber meets the road in U.S. policy. And U.S. policy's been tough on China, and rightfully so. This latest round where we see the Chinese essentially, while the rest of the world is fighting the virus, the Chinese are starting a propaganda war, attacking other countries. I think the U.S. has been great, where the president says, look, we're going to have to work together, and so he maintains that close personal relationship. But across the board, whether it's military, political, economic, or public health policy, the administration is pushing back on China where China is wrong, and we have to continue to do that.
Back home, there's a battle royale still going on in Washington about getting that, economic aid package out. The House has yet to vote on it. There seems to be some consternation about the messaging coming out of the Democrat Party. We're not getting political here. We're talking about the need for a unifying vision. Kevin McCarthy today, Colonel, talked about how John F. Kennedy went to NASA, 1961. Saw a janitor with a broom. Asked the janitor, what are you doing? The janitor said, well, I'm working to get a man on the moon. So you see this unification coming across the country. 10 drug makers, 130 million doses they're pumping out now for hydrochloroquine. We have military scientists here in the U.S. We've got drug makers, people making ventilators, masks. So there needs to be that push to get us focused, right? No more distractions.
Well, look, I think the president's been realistic in that the notion that Washington is just going to stop being Washington and put the partisan politics aside isn't going to happen. And this gets to a key point of his strategy. If you really focus on this, the president has never waited for the Washington consensus to catch up. If you look at every phase of the plan, particularly in this crisis, he's been always one step ahead. He'd have never gotten a consensus for a travel ban. That was key because you can't drain the bathtub if you leave the faucet on. So not importing the virus. He was way ahead in pushing resources, state and local governments, and recognizing that those guys are the front lines are making the tough decisions on how to bend the curve. He pushed through a lot of economic aid to say, look, we've got to help people. He's kept the pressure on for that. Congress has been continually playing catch up. The partisan fighting is almost a separate sideshow because if you really see that, all they do is kind of replay the same tactics over and over again, whether it's Stormy Daniels or testing was the new tax returns. They just keep playing it over and over again. And the president just kind of ignores it and plows through it. And that's why he's been successful.
And Colonel, it's interesting what you just said, because Nancy Pelosi today said the $2 trillion aid package is, she's talking about equating it to the $2 trillion tax cut bill. That was a fight of 2 years ago. I want to turn now to the hard decision now about reopening the country. Again, It's going to be a fight with 21 governors who oversee that. It's important to have the right data. We were just talking, Colonel, about how China likely understates by 43,000 cases, its cases, because those cases are asymptomatic. We just had Dr. Birx talking about the Imperial College of London last week, saying 500,000 people in the UK could die. Now they're saying it's likely 20,000 because now the private sector, the health system is stepping up. 500,000 was based on doing nothing. So, it's important to have the correct data, and it looks like the White House is trying to get the right data in to make the decisions. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think, look, if you look at the strategy, the president is again, really, really way ahead of us. Look, the reality is we're all debating, and Washington is debating, open up the country and let the disease run wild, or, shut everybody down for months. The reality is we're not going to do either of those things. The president's already made that decision. We've already moved past that choice. Those people are in the past. The president's looking at how can we break the back of the curve, deploy capabilities to deal with the disease, and then in a risk-informed way, using science, data, and the advice of experts, start to get the economy going again, because that's really important. But we got to deal with the disease, because the best economic policy is a public health policy that keeps this thing from getting out of control. That's all in place now. We are past Normandy. All right? The president has landed in Normandy after D-Day, and we are driving to Paris. And these guys are still talking like, should we have a second front? So the reality is we don't need to have this Manichaean debate about opening the country up or not. We already have a strategy that's going to do that efficiently and safely. We should get behind the president and support it.